Hello, just Gem here and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. Today it is a first impressions video of the Ink and Roses palette from Arttitude Cosmetics. And just because of my last video, I'm just going to demo. It comes in a sleeve. If you watched my last video, then you will know that, maybe not my last video, video before last, you'll know that I'm quite partial to a sleeve. I do love a sleeve. And Arttitude Cosmetics palettes, they come in a sleeve. This one doesn't have a cutout. I think the ones before did. No cutout on here, but nice sleeve. And then that's the front of the palette itself. Rooks described this as an anti-Valentine's colour story. So it's kind of got that rosy vibe. You know, I'm thinking sort of petals with the thorns, like the leafy type shades. But then it's got like a bit of a mild grungy twist, I would say, to a Valentine's palette. That's looking a bit, should I switch that? Yeah, there we go, that's better. So that just gives you a better idea of what it looks like without my super bright light shining on it. 16 shades, 5 unique textures, 9 buttery easy to blend mattes, 3 gorgeous high definition foils, 2 soft duochromes with a subtle colour shift, 1 iridescent metallic shimmer and 1 matte with a hint of sparkle. And to me that seemed like a very appropriate time to cut to the swatches. I would say, I mean, it's a pretty nice cohesive colour story. I do wonder, like as I was swatching them, are some shades a bit similar? So there's Love and Petal, which you kind of can see the difference in the pan. So that's Love up here and that's Petal. So I'd say Love is a bit more of a vibrant pink and Petal's a bit muted. But I don't know if I'd have preferred for them to be a little bit different. And then you've got Parchment here and Sepia. Sepia is described as a shade, it's a matte with a hint of sparkle. And it's very, I mean, they're very, very close. So again, I think I'd probably want a bit more variation in these two shades. Nice level of depth in there. Nice range. I'd say it's the usual Arttitude formula. Well, I say usual. It has been a while since I've dabbled in Metamorph, but I've just used urban neutrals and vintage neutrals, so it's that kind of formula. These shimmers here, so we've got Blossom, Ink, and I think it's Inkwell. They're all quite creamy. There are the creamy shimmers. And then Eternal and Secret, they were a bit drier. So really, really like that shade Secret. I think that's a really, really pretty shade. I'm looking forward to using that. You go to Whisper and that's a bit more, not quite as creamy, but kind of in between. So creamy shimmers, slightly drier shimmers, in between shimmer. Sorry, my arm's waving all around a bit there. I'm trying to keep it in place. Yeah, it's almost better if I tilt the shades, tilt my arm a little bit, just to kind of give you an idea, especially those shimmers, how they behave with a bit of light. 16 swatches of Arttitude Cosmetics Ink and Roses. Normally I do one look on each eye, and today's no different. I'm going to do the same. And I always seem to be very monochromatic when I do one look on each eye. And I felt like I'd wanted to do something a bit different today, but then I remembered what I've got coming up. And if I did mix the colour scheme a little bit more, considering it's kind of purpley mauvey and green predominantly in here, I think it would end up looking very similar to a look I've got planned. So we're going to stick with that monochromatic thing that I tend to do. Also because, to be fair, I think it helps to show off as many shades as possible when you do a monochromatic look, especially with a colour story like this. So I'm thinking I'll probably include, maybe that would be my deepening shade, maybe throw in a bit of these purpley mauvey shades, whack a few shimmers on, and then for the other eye, I mean I do green a lot, but green features, so maybe we do some kind of green monochromatic look. I might start with the green, just because if I start with the green and I see which shimmers go best with the green shades, and I can use whatever shimmers are left for the purpley side. I'm going to be putting a picture in the corner and it's going to let you know which shades I'm diving into. I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with Wilted. Let's use my reference number 1. Wilted is a shade where there's a fair bit of kick up in that pan when you go into it. I'm still not 100% convinced about my lighting. I feel like I'm very dark here. This is very pigmented to the point where I don't think I really needed to dip into that again, to be honest. No idea where I'm going with this, none whatsoever. I just know that I'll probably reach for Bloom. I wonder if maybe I'll put a little bit of a purpley shade in here. Maybe I'll use Thorn as an outer V deepener type shade. What I might do is I'll go into Bloom with a Refer 13 and just see if I can soften Wilted a little bit. So this is my Refer 13 and I'm just using that to deposit a bit more of Wilted on the outer corner there. I think I can get away with this. I'm going to use Thorn, just wiping off the green pigment from my 13. I think there's a lot of kick up. I don't remember there being this much kick up before. Treading carefully here because I don't want to pick up too much and have difficulty blending. I think Thorn has acted like quite a nice deepening shade without making it muddy. And Thorn would be a beautiful deep purple shade in its own right. Shimmers, this is always the interesting one. So I've still got the swatches on my arm, which is normally very helpful. I might use ink. No, not ink, Inkwell. Or maybe Inkwell and ink. I don't know how this is going to look because they're kind of bluey toned. There's also Whisper I could use. No, I'm going to try Inkwell and inked. Inkwell and ink. Do I want to put some glitter primer on? No, I don't think so, not today. And I'm going to use a silicone applicator. So this is one of the shades that's a bit more emollient. It's more of a creamy texture. So I don't know if that's going to focus, probably not at all. But that's quite chunky on this silicone applicator, which is one of the reasons I thought I would use the silicone applicator, because I thought it would make it easier to apply and smooth out. Different. It's not necessarily a combo that would have jumped out to me, but I quite like that. I might just use my little finger as well. covering my face. You wouldn't think I've done this before. I'm now using my index finger, going into Inkwell, which is another super soft, creamy shade. Be careful. Not depositing. Oh no, it is depositing. It's just a very different texture. It's not as intense a sparkle as that. So at first I didn't think it was depositing, but it is. See on the lid, I don't know if they look different enough. Sometimes I do that. I think I pick shimmers that I think are going to be complementary, but then they don't end up looking different enough. I don't know. I still kind of like it. What would I do for my under eye? After saying about being monochromatic, I kind of want to put purple on the bottom now. Small brush, ME11, and I'm going into roses. Yeah, I quite like that. And then my Zoeva 237, which is my go-to inner corner highlight. And I'm going into Eternal. I might have to spray that. Got the washing machine on. It sounds like it's about to take off. Good lord. I've deviated a little bit, but I think that means I'm going to keep it quite light and airy on the other side, because this is quite dark, and as is my lighting. I don't know why. It's not normally this dark. I feel like I fix one issue and another one arises, but I do seem to be staying in focus today. You win some, you lose some. How do I want to go for the other side? I may well use roses again. I want to use that shade Secret. I think it's beautiful. I think Secret and Blossom are going to be my shimmer shades. And let's just kind of see where the brush takes me. I'm not going to overthink it too much. What's the lightest? I'm going to go here. Maybe Parchment. Let's see about Parchment. And this is my Refa 15 instead of my Refa 1, because my Refa 15 is clean. Pigment free. So this is very, very light. It's almost sort of setting the primer I've put down, which is my Be Perfect Priming Primer. Okay, I just had to wait for my washing machine to sing its symphony. Now it's complete. So I'm almost experimenting here because I'm curious. Let's go in with Petal now. Okay, yeah, that's deeper, so I can see that. So I might reserve Parchment as a matte inner corner highlight, and I think for like a transitional shade I'd go straight to Petal. I would say that it's probably going to look a bit lighter than it would have been, obviously, because I'm now layering it above Parchment. But let's see how it builds up over the top. I quite like that. I mean, now I'm curious to know how that would have appeared on my lid if I hadn't put Parchment down first. Then I'm really testing it. Should we see what Love looks like? They're all in the same family and they're kind of getting deeper and deeper. This has perhaps got more pink, whereas Petal perhaps leans a bit more purple. Lighter purple leaning. Yeah, you can see that. I don't think I'd necessarily go through, do all of these for an everyday look, but I was just really curious to see how they would layer one after the other on top of each other. I hope to God you can't hear my stomach because it's making some very, very interesting noises. Very interesting. Now we'll add some depth with Roses. If this isn't enough, then I will use Thorn. I've got to say, they're blending very nicely. I do feel like I've got a very nice pinky gradient going on. And then maybe just a little bit of Thorn. I was just covering my whole face, wasn't I? Sorry guys. Sorry, I'm concentrating as well. I'm realising, I don't know if it's sort of almost the angle that I film at, but sometimes after I've finished a look, I feel like I don't take some of the shades high enough, like I don't blend them high enough. So I'm just trying to make sure that I do today. So I said I wanted Secret and Blossom. I'm terrible at describing formulations and shifts in shades, but Secret is very, very pretty, which I hope you can see. I might use my little finger to build this up. Let's see. Using my index finger for Blossom. That's pretty, I think. These look good together on the lid. Yeah, there's a distinction, but they work well. Let's just get them to mesh more. Might wet that, see what that looks like when I wet it. Yeah, I think wetting it's just intensified it a little bit. It's perhaps not quite as light as I'd intended, but that's okay. I'll just run Roses underneath in the corner. Let's do Sepia. I am going to finish my face, basically. I'm going to finish my face and then I'm going to give you my first impressions. I have zoomed you right in. I've adjusted my lighting and now I think that's too bright. But yeah, let's see when I zoom out again. But I've zoomed you right in so you can have a good look at both eyes. So we've got the greeny purpley, slightly bluey side and the purple side. I'm just going to call it, well, purpley pink side. Is there a side you prefer? So possibly slightly more monochromatic, and then that one I think just showcases a bit more variety, I reckon. Yeah. No, I think this lighting's okay. I think so. You'll have to let me know, because I think it was very dark before. I fiddled with the settings. I'm going to write these down as well. I'm going to like go through painstakingly my camera. I'm going to write down everything that my camera says, because if I'm going to be taking it out occasionally to use it as a camera and changing everything, I'm going to have to remember how to put it back. Lighter, darker. I feel like Goldilocks, but I think this is good. I think this is good. Anyway, oh, before I forget, along with the palette, Rooks actually released 4 multi-chromes separately. I didn't want to buy all 4 more multi-chromes because they're £12 each. And the only reason I ended up buying this multi-chrome, which is Mi Amor, is because I didn't want to pay £3.99 postage. So girl math, pay £3.99 postage or whack in one of the multi-chromes, which is £12 minus 10% because I used the discount code, and girl math said add in the multi-chrome. I think you can kind of see the shift going on there, and let's Let's give it a swatch. Oh wow, that's very pretty. So that looks gold there, doesn't it? But then in front of me, I should really master that whole mirror thing where I can really show these multi-chromes. You can kind of see it. So when I do that, so that's just straight up like a green gold, but then it shifts blue. I don't know if that's showing it. I'm a terrible YouTuber. How do people do this? How do they show the shifts on camera? Oh, oh, there we go. Oh, oh. Can you see that? Why can't I can't get this angle right? I was about to swatch it down my face, but I need to take pictures of my look, so I can't do that yet. How did I finish my face? Tarte concealer, bit of Laura Mercier powder. Made by Mitchell Curve case, I used Cherry Cola, which seems to be like my go-to at the moment. And I set that with Mulberry Muse, because that's got that purple hue to it, and I thought that that would go well with this look. So I've got this new highlighter. Well, it's new to me. I'll go into depth in this when I do my US haul video, but I think it's Belladonna or Bella is Deadly. I think she's got two of those handles, but we're both on the Robert Welsh Discord server, and she was having a declutter basically, and one of the items in there was this, and I've gone in with Serenity, which is this highlighter here, and it's quite a subtle one. It's not in your face. I'm sure you could probably build it up, but I thought, yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah, so I'll be using that more. MAC lipstick in the shade Persistence, and I've lined that lightly. See, this is why I love this liner, because you can go in lightly or you can like really thicken things up. But yes, the 89 Fine lip liner, Clinique eyeliner, Rimmel Thrill Seeker mascara, the bronzer, which the mirror I was just painfully trying to use to show you the shift in this with no success, and then a tiny little bit of this Say gloss bounce in the shade Dip. The palette, it's the same quality that we have come to know and love. And I was just looking, I don't think there is a film on here for me to rip off for you, so sorry guys. It's that quality from Arttitude that we have come to know and love. I don't know, because I deviated, kind of in hindsight I wish I had stuck to all green just to kind of see what it would look like, but I just really just wanted to vary one of the eyes at least a little bit more. So I'm curious about how much versatility you could get. Have I used all the shimmers? I don't think I've used Whisper, and then for the mattes I've not used Scribe, which is this grey, or Calligraphy, which is this cool tone brown. So I'm curious, if you were to use like Calligraphy and Scribe, you might get more of a slightly more neutral look. I just don't know, maybe it's because I'm lacking a bit of imagination at the moment. I'm not 100% sure about the variety of looks you could get with this palette, but I'm sure they're there. Yeah, once I play with it some more, maybe I'll probably find them. But there is something about this colour story that I do really enjoy. I like the fact that it's got like 6 shimmers in here, and I've just realised they're kind of arranged in as well in a way where the shimmers go diagonally like that. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I think that's quite cool. Where do I think I would put this? I think of the palettes I've got from, maybe I'll do a proper ranking. I keep saying I'll do these rankings, but right off the bat, just from first impressions of this, palettes I've got and used, because I have Obsession, haven't used that yet, but I think I'd have Urban Neutrals, Metamorph, Vintage Neutrals, and then this. Or would I put this above Vintage Neutrals? Ooh, I don't know. Maneater is coming back. I don't know if I will get Maneater. I'm jumping all over the place here. Because I did say, now that the format has changed and it's these lovely square 16 pans, I don't know if I want to get Maneater with its 20 panned rectangularness. I'm funny like that. I just don't know. And I also said it would be one or the other. I think that's what I said, and I've got Obsession now. So I don't know about getting Maneater. At first impressions, I think it's very, very pretty. It's a very, very pretty palette. I love that packaging. I love that. I think it's really beautiful. That literal ink and roses and the colour story and how it translates. I'm loving the new logo as well, by the way. It's new Arttitude logo. And I think everything from now on will come in this. I know Rooks is slowly changing everything over. Would I get more of the multi-chromes? I mean, that has impressed me, to be fair. But, I mean, I've got something similar to that, really, in one or both of my Lightworks palettes. And as I say, really only bought Mia More just because I didn't want to pay £4 postage. So to not pay £4 postage, I paid almost £12 for an extra item. Oh, who knows how my brain works, who knows. As long as Arttitude keep their formula consistent, if you like the colour story, I'd say it's one to go for. And, ooh, I just remembered what else I was going to do as well. You know, if people didn't know any better, they would think that my channel is sponsored by Cosmic Brushes. I hadn't realised, but my last, consecutively I did, well, not consecutively, almost, Sinister, The Lovers, and then Undergrowth. Oops. I promise I'm not sponsored by Cosmic, I promise. I got a phone call quite some time ago. It's actually now 11 o'clock at night. Oops. I believe I was about to do some comparisons. And the comparisons I was going to do, I'll show you the two palettes in question because I don't think I've done that yet. These two. And I think you can probably tell while I'm holding them side by side here why I was going to compare these two palettes. And I'm still going to, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in the morning now. I'm going to do some swatches. I've done some practice runs, but I'm quite tired now and I was getting myself overly muddled. So I'd rather do these comparison swatches with a clear head. But I think I've formed enough of an opinion through my comparison swatches just to, hang on, what? So those are the palette swatches. And these are some demos that I was doing. And then I even kind of moved on to here. And they're the beginnings of some swatches, but they're very wonky. So I'm going to take some proper comparison swatches in the morning, possibly in the daylight. Here are the comparison swatches. We've got Arttitude Cosmetics on this side and Cosmic Brushes on this side, and I'll go from wrist downwards just to show you which shades I've used. So we've got Thorn next to Harmony, Blossom next to Loyal, Love next to Attraction. I've skipped Calligraphy and Ink. Then we've got Bloom next to Devoted. I'd say that Bloom is right bang slap in between Devoted and Truth from the Lovers. Inkwell and Truth. I've skipped Scribe, Eternal and Roses. Then I've put Secret next to Companion. Connection's also quite similar, but it's far more intense. I've skipped, oh no, I didn't skip Wilted. I was going to skip Wilted, but then I decided that I would swatch it next to Trust. I swatched it next to Trust. And then I have put Parchment next to Unconditional and Sepia next to Affection. So that's, I'd say they're pretty close. Pretty close. I would say Ink and Roses swatched better. I did have to build up a bit more for the Lovers, but I'm not surprised. I had the same experience when I swatched Urban Neutrals versus Coultrals, so I'm not surprised by that, and I think I said it at the time, just because Cosmic doesn't swatch as well as Arttitude, it doesn't mean that the performance is any less, you know, it's not inferior. They still perform really well, but I would say that these are one swipe, two swipes top. With these ones I did have to go in a little bit more, so just so you're aware of that. And this is natural daylight as well, and I'm using my phone to do these swatches. I would say that Ink and Roses and the Lovers are similar in a kind of way that Urban Neutrals and Coultrals are similar, to really think about that. That's the vibe, and it's like, look at the packaging, it's like, again, it's kind of got similar-ish tones, I guess. I mean, they're both Valentine's releases, so I guess statistically speaking it's highly likely there would be some overlap. And again, I've got to give the edge to Arttitude. I said it then when I compared Urban Neutrals and Coultrals. If I only had to pick one, it would be Urban Neutrals. I think I'd have to give it to Ink and Roses based on the formula. I like the formula. I've established that I really like Arttitude's formula, actually. It's probably up there with one of my favourites. Someone did ask me about doing a video about different formulas, but I just feel like formulas are so subjective and people feel differently about different formulas. Like, some people might prefer a certain dryness if it's going to give them a certain colour payoff. But that's why I kind of like to explain the swatches a lot when I do them, just to see if that will help you determine in your mind what the formula might be like. Even though they're very similar, I think I'd probably reach for Ink and Roses more. I think so. But then I know that because the Lovers has got that shade Partnership, and I think Partnership is stunning. Obviously this has got a few more shades, so if you're looking for having a few more shades, and it's a cheaper price point as well. This is 26, this is $34.99, let's just call it 35. So that's almost a tenner more for 4 less shades. So while I prefer the formula in this, for number of shades alone, by far that's the better value. So that's something that's worth noting as well. I always wonder about the price point of indie brands. Like, I do, like, how are Cosmic doing it? How has Cosmic produced this for £26 when it's got 4 more shades, when this is 35? But then I think the formula is superior. So is that where that extra money is going, into the formula in this? Let me know, if you have tried Cosmic and Arttitude, which formula do you prefer? I'm curious, because I'm wondering if it's just me. Maybe some of you prefer Cosmic's slightly drier formula, and that's what I mean about it being subjective when it comes to formulas. I'm getting to a point now where I feel like I'm rambling. I'm repeating myself now. It's very late, it's 11:45. I've been doing this for quite some time now. I'm going to sign off for now. Well, no, I'm going to sign off full stop, because I'll put them ahead, won't I? So I can say goodbye now. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm sorry that got a bit all over the place at the end. Hope you found that useful, and I also hope to see you again in a video in a not too distant future. Take care. Bye.